Welcome to CSEC Biology, the cover page. I am Mr. Wilson, and today we're looking at the May-June 2018 CSEC Biology Paper 1. We're going to be doing a review of question number 1 through to 60. You want to stay with us as we go through this paper. If you have not yet liked, share, and subscribe, it might just be time for you to do so now. And when you do, please be reminded to hit that notification bell and select all so that you'll be notified as soon as there is a new publication. You might want to join us for our live classes on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. and we're streaming from Kingston, Jamaica. Ensure that you're a part of the show so that you can improve your skills. Let's jump right into the questions. Question number 1. Which of the following feature is used to classify an organism as class insect? Now we're looking at an organism, insecta. An insect is divided into 3 parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. So definitely not A, B, or C. Our answer here is of course going to be the number of segments. And like I have said, it is the head, thorax, and abdomen. So our answer there for question number 1 is going to be D. And we move on down to question number 2. For question number 2, which of the following sampling method is most suitable for estimating the density of mushroom in a garden? Now, mushrooms are pretty much stationary organisms, so the best method here is going to be the quadrat. The line transect and belt transect is showing changes over a particular landmass, and of course mark and release will be looking at organisms that are pretty much moving a little faster in and out of an area. So the most suitable answer here for us is going to be question number 2. The answer is A. That's our choice there for question number 2. And we move on down to question number 3. And question number 3 reads, the living organisms such as plants are affected by abiotic factors which determine where they become established. Which of the following option lists some of these determining factors? Now please be reminded that a abiotic factor are the non-living component of the environment, and the non-living component of the environment are those that we refer to as a physical component, some of which you will be testing as you do geography. We are talking about things like topography, we're talking about wind speed, pH of soil, temperature, humidity, that type of thing. So here sediment size is not appropriate. B is plausible. C, parasitism, that we're now going into biotic factors there. Deforestation is something totally different. The most suitable answer here for question number 3 is going to be B. And B being selected as our answer there for question number 3, we're going to be moving on to question number 4. Question number 4 refers to the following food web. Now remember that a food web is an interconnection of different food chains. So it usually begins with a producer, and we have a producer at the base here, the plant, and of course we have one food web going squirrel, ocelot, and another going iguana, ocelot, and the other going squirrel and the arc. So it is easy for us to choose here. It's going to be B3 for, of course, the answer here for question number 4. B is our answer. 3 food chains for the answer there. Just changing the color of my pencil. And moving on down to question number 5. Which of the following statements describe the relationship where ocelot eats an iguana and the iguana eats a plant? We're talking about 2 separate relationships here. The ant, look at the ant. So the ocelot is eating the iguana. That's a predator-prey relationship. And the iguana eating the plant. That is also a predatory relationship. Now, A, both iguana and ocelot are prey. That's not true. B is plausible there. Both the ocelot and the iguana are predators. Yes, that's true. And C, ocelot is the predator while the prey is the iguana. But what about the plant? And then we have D, the ocelot, the prey, while the iguana, the predator. What about the plant? So our best answer there is going to be B, all time, anytime. Selecting B as your answer here is going to be our answer. If your answer is respectfully different, feel free to leave it in the comment, and definitely we will have a dialogue around the differences. As we move on to question number 6, it refers to the following food web, and we're seeing it's an aquatic food web at the start there, and we're seeing a number of organisms. Now let us look at what is happening here. Now we're seeing the phytoplankton, which is pretty much a microscopic plant, and the zooplankton, those are microscopic animal. Now trophic level 1 represent, the trophic level 1 is usually the trophic level that is represented by plants, and here the phytoplankton are going to be the microscopic plant, while the zooplankton is of course going to be the microscopic animal. So our best choice is going to be phytoplankton, A being our answer for question number 6, and none other is worth looking at. Most of the energy is lost as, of course, heat during the process of respiration. Energy is lost during excretion, yes. There are fewer. That is not plausible. C and B is totally out. C and D is totally out. Of course, A is going to be the most suitable answer here for question number 7. And we move on down to question number 8. And I know that you've been well with the paper. You have been following. You have actually worked the other papers that we have done so far. So question number 8. Which of the following material is considered to be non-biodegradable? A non-biodegradable material is a material that won't decay anytime soon or will not decay any at all. Grass cutting will decay, newspaper will, cloth will decay, but of course a sardine tin will take a little time before that actually happens. So the most suitable answer here is going to be B for question number 8. I will move on to question number 9. Which of the following statements best explain why coral reef in the Caribbean are at risk? Now, this is a fiery question. We'll have to blow some heat on this one. There has been overfishing of the seas. Now, depending on what method of fishing you're using, if you're trawling, it will damage the coral reef. If you're dynamiting it, it will destroy the coral reef. If you are diving down there to get conch, of course, you're going to destroy the coral reef. That is plausible, but let us continue. The Caribbean is a popular tourist destination. Not all tourists coming into the Caribbean is actually going to the coral reef. There have been many hurricanes in the Caribbean. That is, of course, true. But I think D is the one that pretty much stands out. There has been an increase in the volume of sewage flowing into the reef. As population increases and sewage treatment increases, what does that mean? Is that, of course, the sewage is treated and, of course, released into the sea. But when it is released into the sea, there's a whole lot of suspended particles that are, of course, forming sediment in the water, sludge in the water, and destroying the coral reef. Also, you will have to look at the meaning of sewage, where we're looking at domestic, industrial, municipal waste, and these drains sometimes overflow, and they too go into the sea and create further problem for the coral reef. So for me, the best answer here is going to be D. But if your answer is respectfully different, feel free to leave it in the comment section there, that we can have a discussion around it. We're looking at question number 10, and we're looking at replanting of trees on a bare hillside. It is an example. What is it an example of? Of course, this is going to be an easy one. It's going to be reforestation and restoration. We're looking at we're doing it again. That means it was there before. Afforestation, we are planting on bare land. But of course, remember that it was there. Trees were there before it became bare. We're now replanting the area, and of course it is of course a form of restoration. We're bringing back the area to its former glory. So the best answer here for us is going to be C for question number 10. I'm sure that you are following nicely as we go through the paper. Remember to use your text to help you if you're having challenges going through the paper. The internet might also provide some amount of help, but I'm sure that you're pretty much following as we go along and paying keen attention to the example. Item 11 refers to the following graph of population growth. Now, this graph nicely represents what we call a sigmoid growth curve or the S curve. We're looking at 4 there where there's definitely decline in the population. Now, phase 4 of the graph of population growth is most likely due to, let's look at phase 4. There the population is going down. Now, what would have caused the population to go down and not increase? A number of things could cause it. Could be lack of food, lack of water, lack of space, competitors, all of that could cause it. So, disease resistance, oh, come on. Disease resistant, if they are disease resistant, then the population will grow. High natural birth rate, then we're going to be having exponential growth. Adequate food and space, we're going to have exponential growth. But if we're having competition from invasive species like the lionfish, like the Brazilian cane toad, and the list of invasive species continue on, continue on, continue, then the population will fall off. So for question number 11, D is going to be the most suitable answer for us. As we make our way down to question number 12, when compared to the cheek cell, a muscle cell contains more. The muscle cell and the liver cell will always contain more mitochondria. So A, vacuole is out, B, ribosome out, D, chromosomes out. Your answer for number 12 is of course going to be the mitochondria. So we are selecting C for the answer for question number 12. And we're moving on to question number 13, which refers to the following diagram, which shows a process by which substances are moved into and out of the cell. Pretty much the cell membrane there being involved. But let's look at the sugar molecules here and the water molecules pretty much at the start of the experiment. If we observe, they are pretty much at the same volume. But after the experiment, look what happens. Here we are having the sugar side increasing and the side with the water is of course decreasing. Now, what is happening is that water would have moved. There is a net movement of water into the concentrated sugar side. And what is happening is that we can safely say the water is moving. We're looking at osmosis. So we could quickly ignore A and B. And osmosis here, water moving from dilute to concentrated solution, as we would have seen in the experiment. So C is the most appropriate answer for us. If we look at D, it's also osmosis, but sugar move from concentrated to dilute solution. Yes, you're going to have some of that, but it is the net movement. We're going to be having more water moving. So of course, the most suitable answer for us here is going to be C. Question number 14, which of the following function is not correctly matched to the organelle? Osmotic control is going to be the cell membrane, so that is correct. When we talk about protein synthesis, we're talking about ribosome and endoplasmic reticulum, so that is clearly out. Chloroplast has to do with the chlorophyll and deal with the plant cell and all of that, so those really don't match. C, heredity is of course going to be with the nucleus, and of course the release of energy can be pretty much traced right back to the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is going to be the thing releasing energy. Our best answer here is going to be B for question number 14. I will move on to question number 15. A mature plant cell is different from a mature animal cell because the plant cell has a large permanent vacuole. C is our answer for question number 15. The mitochondria, they both have mitochondria, they both have cell membrane, and of course the nucleus suspended in the cytoplasm. That is pretty much true for all the cells. So there's nothing here that we could even choose or be mistaken with than, of course, to choose C as our answer for question number 15. And we move on down to question number 16. And it reads, which of the following graph shows the effect of temperature on enzymes control reaction? Remember that enzymes are not animals. It is actually a chemical. No, E could never be the answer because enzymes pretty much, they are denatured by high temperature. They work best around somewhere about 37 degrees Celsius, and of course they will fall off as the temperature continues to increase. B could never be the answer. C is pretty much not the answer. But let's look at what D is saying. Now, if you look at D, we're seeing the temperature increasing there to somewhere about 37 degrees Celsius. They're marked on the screen. And as we move up to 40, we're having the reaction falling off. There's a decline in the enzyme activity. So D is going to be the most suitable answer here for us, not any of the others. None of the others could pretty much be chosen. D is the best answer here. And we move on now to we're at question 17. An enzyme is defined as a catalyst, which this is a very good question that pretty much points out the fact that you need to read all the options for your answer. A is saying increase the rate of chemical reaction. That is true, really plausible. Decrease the rate, that is out. C, increase the rate of chemical reaction, pretty much as above. But however, continue to read but remain unchanged at the end of the reaction. This is definitely the most suitable answer here, the best answer, and it says their best answer for 17. So C is going to be the best answer for 17, and of course D is way out, and we're not going to be bothering much with D, as definitely could not be the answer. Our answer there is going to be C for 17. We move on to question number 18, which nicely reads, which of the following feature does not enhance a leaf's ability to absorb solar energy? Now, you would have seen in your textbook where we're looking at the adaptation of a leaf for photosynthesis, but here we're talking about absorbing solar energy. Now, numerous chloroplasts, that is for photosynthesis, and we're now looking at the presence of vascular bundle that would enhance photosynthesis. So too would A. But of course, as it relates to absorb solar energy, B would not assist with that, right? So all the others are true for photosynthesis, but B is, of course, not true for absorption of solar energy. All the others will aid the plant in absorbing solar energy. So B is our answer here for question number 18. Item 19 refers to the following diagram, which represents a metabolic process occurring in plant. We're seeing here that carbon dioxide and water is moving into the cell in pretty much in the presence of light, and oxygen and food is given off. I'm wondering what food it is. It's important to note that chlorophyll is in the chloroplast in this plant cell. Now, this is a repeat question. I think it's even on the 2015 specimen paper for the syllabus. Now, the answer here, food material or food nutrient produced, is, of course, glucose. And remember that the formula for glucose is C6H12O6. As we move on to question number 20, which of the following organism is a saprophyte? A cat is a carnivore, the amoeba something different, and mango tree is going to be, of course, a producer. The bread mold, however, is a fungus, and of course it's feeding saprophytically and whatever it is, because a saprophyte is feeding on dead and decayed organism. We move to question 21, which refers to this graph that you might have seen in your text. And we're seeing there carbon dioxide being the limiting factor for whatever it is. And of course, we're looking at light intensity and the rate of photosynthesis. The question reads, which of the following statement best account for the shape of a graph of light intensity versus rate of photosynthesis? Now, as the rate of photosynthesis increase, there is a decrease in carbon dioxide level. No, we're not seeing that on the graph. As the light intensity increase, the rate of photosynthesis also increase until we're not seeing that either. Let's look at C. As the light intensity increases, there is an increase in the rate of photosynthesis until there is no further increase in the rate, and this is due to some other limiting factor. And we would have seen there that the limiting factor there was, of course, carbon dioxide. Now, D is not pretty much represented on the graph, so it makes no sense for us to even look on D. So we move on to our new question number 22, and it refers to the following diagram of a respiratory system, showing structure of the respiratory system. And here, 1 is looking at the trachea, 2 is looking at the ribs, and the 3 is looking at the bronchioles, and of course, 4 looking at the diaphragm. Which of the labeled part represents a rib? It's going to be 2. So B is going to be your answer there. All right, so for 23, which of the following condition is an effect of nicotine found in cigarette smoke. Increased heart rate is going to be the answer there. Increase the cilia beating, that is going to come after the heart rate would have been increased. And reduce oxygen transport by the blood, that is going to be the carbon monoxide that is associated with it. And of course, increase mucus production, that is going to be the tar that is associated with the cigarette smoking. So again, A is our answer for question 23. And we move on down to question 24. The steps listed below are involved in the clotting of blood. This is pretty interesting. It's asking which of the following sequence is the correct order of step. Now, first you're going to have that cut. So blood vessel being damaged. You got a cut, you got a bruise, something there. And then the next thing is going to happen is that the platelets are activated as the ear touches the blood cells and the ear that is all damaged. Then we are going to have fibrinogen being converted into fibrin, and then it will cause a clot or will trap the blood on the inside. So D is the best answer for 24. I will move on to question 25. What is the main storage product of a plant? It's going to be A, starch, not sucrose, not any of the others. Starch is going to be your answer here, as we would have tested the leaf for starch, and we would have gotten starch. For most cases, in some cases, there are plants that are storing reducing sugar. So our best answer, like I said earlier, is going to be A for 25. We'll move on to question 26. Which of the following options correctly matches the gaseous exchange structure with the organism? So we're talking about the exchange structure. So A is totally out. Now B is plausible. Pretty much looks very good. You would be seeing I think the lamellae in the fish where we have the gill filament there. However, C is out because the gill rack is out. We could use elimination here. The gill bar is out. So the most suitable answer here is of course going to be B. So B is our answer there for question 26. Young leaf is also out, and spongy mesophyll is also out, as it were, for this. So our best answer here is going to be B. For 27, why is it difficult to develop a vaccine for a common cold? Common cold is caused by a virus, and they are always changing. So of course, vaccine cannot be developed. That is out. The antigen for B there, that is out as well. C, the antigen on the common cold virus changes frequently. This is a plausible answer here. Human being cannot produce. I'll tell you, C is the best answer here for 27. For 28, which of the following option best identifies some of the transport substances in animals? Amino acid is transported as the smallest part of protein. Hormone is also transported. They are chemical messenger. Sucrose is not transported. It is actually glucose that is transported. So our best answer here for question 28 is going to be A. I will move on to question 29. The amoeba obtains all oxygen it needs by diffusion via its cell membrane, while a human need to have a special respiratory surface for the purpose. The best reason for this difference is that the amoeba does not require much oxygen. Not true. Oxygen cannot pass through the skin of human. Not the answer. Human require large volume. No. Our best answer is going to be D here. A human surface area to volume ratio is too small for diffusion to be effective. And you'd find this in the first part of circulation when you look at circulation. Or you could go onto my channel and look at surface area to volume ratio. We've done a video on that. That would, of course, help you. Now, if a human were supposed to be like a book leaf, then that would pretty much help. Question 30. Translocation of sucrose in plants occur via specialized vessels. And the specialized vessels here is going to be the phloem. Now, A are dead. Once you get to dead and narrow cell, you're talking about the xylem. B, abundant in the mitochondria. Not too sure where that is going. And C contains C pores in their end wall. This is going to be the phloem. So C is going to be our answer for 30. And when we look at our thin, narrow olive tubes and lignin, We're talking there about the xylem, so that couldn't be. So C is our best answer for question 30. Question 31, under which condition will the rate of transpiration in plants be the highest? Now, one thing about transpiration, we could liken it to drying clothes on the line. Sunny and low wind speed, no. Sunny and high wind speed, oh yes, the clothes, they're going to dry very quickly. C, cloudy low wind speed, cloudy high wind speed. No, there we're going to have a whole lot of high level of humidity there, a lot of water vapor in the air. So that couldn't be the answer there. For 32, persons who suffer from kidney disease are most likely to have decreased concentration of glucose. No, our best answer here is going to be D, an increased concentration of urea in the blood. All the others are pretty much out, right? So because we're dealing with the kidney. Question 33. Locomotion is important to animal for avoiding predators, acquiring food and shelter, reproduction. All will be true here. So for 33, your answer is going to be D. For 34, it refers to the following diagram of a flower. And there, 1 is going to be the stigma, 2 is going to be the anther, 3 is going to be the ovule, and 4 down the bottom there is going to be our receptacle. So we have it there nicely labeled. So we move on down to see what's the question. Which of the labeled part is responsible for the production of male gametes? It's going to be 2, the anther. So B is our answer here for question 34. The anther there nicely hangs out and labeled with 2 there. B being the answer for 34. Now 5, the best description for the role of excretion in living organism is to produce urine. That's not excretion, but urine is excretory matter. Production of feces, that is not even excretory matter. To get rid of toxic waste, this is the best answer here. 35 C is the answer there. Of course, we get rid of some water, but the main role here, the best role, is going to be, of course, look at best there, being C for 35. I will move on down to question 36. The role of an effector is to, of course, the effector is bringing about a response to whatever is happening. And these are, of course, muscles and gland. To detect the stimulus, that would have been the receptor. But of course, the effectors are your muscle and gland. And 36 is going to be B, create nerve impulse, no. Relay nerve, no. The answer there is going to be 36. And I'm doing a voice over, so I'm hoping I'm not missing things. As I said, I'm having a little issue putting out these things. But I'm doing a voice over, and I think we're doing well so far. So moving on to question 37. Which of the following diagrams shows the correct direction in which a nerve impulse passes through the reflex arc? And look at the correct direction nerve impulses, and we're looking pretty much at the reflex arc. You can go to my video on, of course, coordination, and you will see this being outlined. The reflex arc is going to be your answer here for 37, the most suitable answer. All the others are way out. They are wrong, 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 couldn't be. So A is the answer there for question number 38. Let us see what it says here. Which of the following phases correctly describe trophic movement in plants? All right, it is reversible, but it is not all movement. B, so that is out as well. It is irreversible. No, not true. It is reversible. So D is going to be our answer for 38. Reversible growth or part movement. The best answer here for 38 is going to be D. For 39, which of the following option best describe the term stimulus and response? We've been looking at this. We're going to hop right on down to the answer. D is going to be your answer for 39. Stimulus, of course, a detectable change in an organism environment, and of course, response, the organism's reaction to the stimulus. So a lion coming your way, that is pretty much a stimulus, a change in the environment, and you deciding whether you're going to fight or flight. That is going to be a response, whether you're going to be running or you're going to be fighting the lion. All right, so 40, we are reference to the following diagram showing an eye and eyes responds to a stimulus. So before, the pupil was really wide and the iris was really small, and not much light was entering the eye. And after, you're seeing that a lot of light is entering the eye, so the pupil becomes small and the iris become large. We're looking at the circular and radial muscles here. Now, the response is most likely brought about by an increase in the light intensity. The response is most likely brought about by an increase in light intensity. So as the light intensity increases, the size of the pupil will decrease. So as the light intensity increases, the pupil that was big before is going to become small. For 41, this is a tricky question, and we're going to have to blow some fire on this one. All right, so it refers to the following diagram, and this is not a typical diagram that you're going to be finding in your textbook. So is 1 the skin or the receptor? Is 2 the sensory neuron or the relay neuron? Is 3 the effector or motor neuron? And that is what causes the problem here. We have to make the decision here. We might have to resort to elimination to, of course, answer this question. So let's look at it. Which of the following option correctly identifies the structure labeled and 1, 2, and 3? So we chose A here, the receptor. It's the receptor picking up the information in the skin, not the skin. All right, and of course, the relay neuron and the intermediate nerves, they are pretty much the same thing, just with different names. So we have to look at why. And the effector on the muscle is pretty much the same thing, different name. Now, we know that it is not the skin, so it makes B out, and receptor being the best choice there. When we come on down to nerve, spinal nerves, in the spinal nerves, you're going to have both motor neuron and sensory neuron. So it couldn't be the spinal nerve. So by method of elimination, A would have to be your choice for 41. For 42, the function of a choroid layer in the eye is the choroid is going to feed the eye and it's going to prevent internal reflection. Now, focus light on the lens, focus most of the light ray. No, that is going to be the lens. Prevent internal, yeah, B is going to be your answer there. No, B is going to be the answer. 43, this is pretty much a nice sigmoid growth curve, and it refers to the following graph, which illustrates measurement of growth in living organism. Which of the following is an incorrect label for the y-axis? And of course, this is going to pull on your measurement and manipulation skill. If you looked at graphs, you'll be able to label this nicely. We have pretty much on that side, we have the y-axis over here, and on this side, we have the x-axis, and of course, it is increasing. You draw your arrow to show the directional increase. Now, on the x-axis, you're going to be having your independent variable, and of course, on the y-axis, you are going to be having your dependent variable. Now, here, the independent variable is going to be units of time, and units of time could be second, minutes, hour, day, week, month, year, decade, and it goes on and on. So our best answer for 43 is of course going to be D. I will move on to question 44. Item 44 refers to the following activity involved in the menstrual cycle, and your answer might be respectfully different here. Feel free to leave it in the comments so we'll have a discussion around it. So what is going to happen is that first we're going to have a development of a Graafian follicle, and then we're going to have a repair of the uterine lining, and then we are going to be having ovulation, and if fertilization does not occur, then we are going to be having shedding of the uterine lining. Now, my answer here is going to be C for 44. For 45, the following statement describes the process taking place within a seed during germination. So we have one embryo use food to develop radicle and plumule, that's the root and the shoot, enzyme breakdown, protein into amino acid, and of course, soluble product move into the embryo. Which of the following sequence is correct? Is the correct order of a process? And we're looking at germination here. So we selected D to be the answer, 2 being first enzyme breaking down, so we have some enzyme activity. Then 3, the soluble product will of course move into the embryo, and of course 1, the embryo will use the food to develop the radicle and of course the plumule. So we have a new plant here. Like we said, this is the answer 46. The production of new organism from the parent, from one parent only, is known as asexual reproduction. B is our answer for 46. A requires two parent, and mitosis and meiosis speaks to cell division. A little different here. So B is our answer there for 46. And for 47, which of the following forms of birth control is most likely to be 100% effective? 100% effective. A condom might burst, the diaphragm might shift, but if we were supposed to sever that tube, then of course in tubal ligation, of course the process would of course be 100% safe. So C there being the answer for 47. Birth contraceptive pills, some persons say they really don't work and some persons miss the time that they should take them. So of course, no error there with 47. C there being the answer. For 48, a vector is defined as an organism that bites human. There might be some vector that, but it's not the best definition. Causes disease as a pathogen and live in an other organism. That could, of course, be a parasite, and it could be other relationship. But our best answer here is going to be D for 48. A vector transmit. It's a transmit disease. All right, so a vector there. We looked at that. 51. We're at 49. Item 49 refers to the following diagram of flowers from two different types of plant. Now, I like to identify the wind pollinated flower at all times. And once I'm seeing the anther sticking out there and I'm seeing that flower, feather-like flower at the top there, I know that this is a wind pollinated plant. And once I'm seeing the fluorescence, I know that this is going to be something that is pollinated by probably insect or hummingbird. The question wants us to look at which of the following statement is true of a flower. I chose A. 1 is pollinated by the hummingbird, it's an animal, and 2 is pollinated by wind. Yes, that is true. Both are pollinated by the hummingbird. No, 2 is pollinated by wind. And petals are absent from both. No, that's not the thing here. For 50, a 60-year-old man has been diagnosed with hypertension as well as diabetes. Which of the following treatment would be most effective for the disease? A. Exercise and lower the intake of salt and refined carbohydrate. That's going to be your answer. A for 50. Spending more time watching. That's like recipe for death. C. Starting a vigorous exercise. That is not going to be the ideal thing there. And the taking insulin. Please don't take insulin unless it's prescribed by a doctor. We don't know the stage of this man's problem. So A is going to be the answer there for 50. We're going to be looking at 51. Which of the following best describes a chromosome? Two forms of same gene, allele alternate form of gene. B, structure made up of DNA, that's a chromosome, that is wrapped around a histone. Now, nucleic acid, we're talking about ribonucleic acid, DNA and RNA, ribonucleic acid. And D, part of the DNA. We're not looking at the genes here. So our best answer here is going to be B. Now, your answer might be respectfully different, but please support it in the comment so we can have a dialogue around that. So our answer here for 51 is going to be B. 52. As a result of mitosis, each daughter cell has, our answer here is C. Explanation. The variable number of chromosomes that is out, twice the number of chromosomes that is out, and of course half the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. That is going to be meiosis. So of course C is going to be the answer for 52. For 53, which of the following process will result in genetically identical offspring? Cloning we chose, and the explanation: mutation will bring about variation, fertilization will bring about variation, and crossing over too will bring about variation. So our best answer here is A for 53. And we move on down to question 54. A man with blood group A married to a woman with blood group B. They had two children, each with blood group AB. The allele AB are described as being codominant. All the others are way out. The allele here, they are codominant. They tend to exist or express themselves pretty much at the same time. Living, loving, leave, you ask me. 55 variation in a population is due to mutation, yes. Crossing over, yes. Asexual reproduction, no. Asexual reproduction is likened to mitosis. So our answer here is going to be A for 55. No, there's no other answer I could think of for 55. 56. Which of the following features is not a characteristic of meiosis? Maintenance of the diploid number. No, that is going to be mitosis. All right. So A is our answer here for 56. None other could be, as we move on to question 57. Now, Tarzan and Jane, both of whom are heterozygous for blood group AB, respectively, can have offspring that are likely to be, and we chose D as the answer, and we're going to be showing you how we arrived at D being 25% A, 25% B, 25% AB, and 25% O. We construct a Punnett square, and a Punnett square is just pretty much a rectangle. And of course, we usually teach the students by talking them through the construction with two horizontal lines, the first horizontal line being drawn, and then the second horizontal line being drawn. And then we also have two vertical lines, so we draw the first line, and then of course the second. Now, having drawn the second line, we're going to separate the first cell in two, and we place the male. You could choose a place where the male or female at the top, but the male there with a little circle and like an upside down arrow attached to that circle, and the female with a little circle and a cross attached to the circle. We can choose now where we put what. We're going to be placing we're placing A and B. They are heterozygous, that means they are AOBO. So we place A, O there for heterozygous, A being dominant, and of course O being recessive, and BO, B being dominant here, and of course O being recessive. Now when we cross A and B, we get AB, and that now becomes codominant, AB, and then when we cross B and O, we get BO, making the blood group B, as O is recessive. And then we cross A and O, and we get the blood group to be AO. Let me correct the O here for those persons who are just starting. We end up with AO. Usually dominant is written first, and here the blood group is considered to be A. And then O cross with O, we get OO, and this is homozygous, homozygous recessive, which means that, of course, this blood group is considered to be O. So here we have it, 25% A, 25% B, 25% AB, and of course 25% O. That's how we arrive at our answer for D. We move on to question number 58. Now we're going to be just hopping on right down to the answer, as it is pretty much textbook. It reads, which of the following description is true about natural and artificial selection? Now in natural selection, we're going to produce great biological diversity as seen on the Galapagos Island with the study of the finch. And then we have artificial, which of course is going to be man influence, and this is going to produce very different organism from the natural population. You will understand that the abiotic factors there in both abiotic and biotic factors there in the natural or in the wild, that will definitely impact the organisms differently. Now, a species best defined as a group of organisms that are able to interbreed and, of course, produce viable offspring. Here we chose A being, of course, interbreed and produce fertile offspring. Fertile offspring meaning viable offspring. So our answer there you would have seen. Now, question 60 refers to the following diagram, which shows stages 1 through to 4 in the production of insulin by genetic engineering. And our answer here would have been D, as of course it is where this tend to occur. And this is like a textbook answer. If you were supposed to check your text, you would have seen that stage 4 here is where the insulin is, of course, produced. So we selected D, like I said before, for question number 60. I hope we have done you justice as we have been doing a voiceover onto the video, as I would have explained in my live the challenges that we're having. Please be reminded to like, share, and subscribe. And when you subscribe, remember to hit that notification bell so that you'll be informed as soon as there is a new publication. You might want to check out our live shows on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. And we're streaming from Kingston, Jamaica. So those in Trinidad and those in Guyana, they will be having a different time frame. Like other Caribbean islands, some other Caribbean islands, they might be a hour ahead or something like that. So make sure that you join us for our show on these days. Thanks much for watching, and please take great care of yourselves until we next meet. Remember to check out the many other videos